Hello. I came across this post on CritCrab's Reddit submissions, which, by the way, is also the place where I got the last video about a D&D story that I made. That's where it came from. That's where a lot of these, if I ever do them, will probably come from. CritCrab, if you happen to watch this, sorry about that. Don't mean to steal your shit. Just people tell you some wild stories, and I've wanted to make videos about several of them, but you know, life and junk. Player severs all friendship after a character dies. This is a horror story, but kind of a weird one. You'll get what I mean when we get to it. I try to run my campaigns with entertainment in mind, so I don't always go too hard on encounters. I've had a couple of TPKs when I was a fresh DM, and the gang was pretty forgiving, as they weren't too attached to their characters. But I didn't like the extra amount of work I forced them to go through to reroll characters, so I'm not above fudging rolls to keep my players alive for the cool scenarios, like I think most DMs do. I can hear y'all getting pissed off. We're gonna get back to that. Anyway, the group I was playing with was the same group that I learned D&D with. We've been friends for well over 10 years. 10 years! And we've been playing this campaign for 5 years. The guys are all level 20. The campaign was pretty much just the players trying to have their heroic deaths. They've been playing this campaign for 5 years, and yes, that is a long time to have one particular character to get attached to. I can't even wrap my head around not getting bored to death with having the same character for that long, but I know I'm the weird one in the community as far as that goes, so. We have Nathan playing a human paladin. He's the problem player. Jamie playing a dragonborn wizard, Henry playing the high elf sorcerer, Nico playing the dwarf cleric. I assume that we aren't supposed to know who these people are, and they don't really matter as the story progresses, except for Nathan, the problem player. At this point in time, the crew has single-handedly fought off a whole-ass empire, slain a dragon the size of a small planet, it was half god that existed before time, conquered all of hell and heaven, and enforced a peace between the gods and demons/devils, and they attained godhood only to forsake it because it sounded like a lot of work to be gods. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like a pretty awesome campaign, but like, it kind of sounds like the campaign should end now. Where do you go from here? Enter the Tarrasque. Not the Pussy Monster Manual Tarrasque, no. The Tarrasque is supposed to be this engine of destruction. So I tweaked the stat block and basically made it Godzilla. I kind of like that he's comparing the Tarrasque to like Godzilla, and Godzilla is supposed to be the more threatening image. I mean, seems a little backwards if you ask me, but alright. That's not what made this encounter a disaster though. That was my dice refusing to roll lower than an 18 before applying modifiers. So this next part is actually what made me want to make a little video about this in the first place. Anyway, I was fudging rolls left and right, but it doesn't matter because the party is just unlucky today. So I start rolling in front of the group just to make a point of it, like I swear to God I'm not bullshitting. And I even swapped dice twice with the group. It did not matter. Eventually it happened. Nathan is down. Now Nathan had been the most difficult to deal with for the Tarrasque, and since it was already biting down on him, I made a roll to see if it would swallow him, which it did. So Nathan got up, packed his things, and flipped me off, and I haven't heard from him since. The rest of the crew have been talking to him though, and are giving him shit for just severing contact with me. That's it. That's the story. The dude literally ended a decade-old friendship over a game of D&D, and it's not like I was singling him out either. He was just the first one to go down, because the rest of the party went down as well. So even after knowing that this dude who's 28 years of age just decided to end a friendship over a game of D&D. Sorry for the weird way I ended that. It felt like the beginning of a sentence, but it just kind of stops. Oh, he means even after this guy knew that the other players died and he wasn't being singled out. I got it. I caught up. This is why I wanted to talk about it. I mean, yes, on the surface, it is pretty ridiculous that this dude ended a 10-year friendship over a game of D&D, over a character dying. And, you know, there is no justification for that. That is absolutely insane. However, given the context that this guy admits that he fudges rolls to keep party members alive, you know, it's not understandable, but I mean, it's not as ununderstandable as if it would have been under different circumstances. I realize people can get very attached to their characters, and, you know, it probably really sucked to have your friend kill off this character that you've had for 5 years. But it would hurt even worse if you knew that the DM was fudging rolls to keep your characters alive to begin with. He even says that he made a point of rolling it in front of them to show that he wasn't fudging the dice in that moment. So I imagine that the discontent started a lot sooner than that. Either because he was mad when he knew that he was fudging rolls before, or that he was mad that he didn't do it this time. If you ask me, the solution to this whole problem would have been ending that particular campaign a lot sooner. I mean, once you've become gods and forsaked it, because being a god is a lot of work, it really does seem like there's not much else to do. And if you see that you're going up against a Tarrasque at that point, it really kind of feels like you know the game is over, my dudes. If you have an emotional attachment to a character, I can see getting like genuinely upset that they're dead. I mean, that's happened to me before. I had a character I really loved and I didn't feel like playing anymore, and I was, new to D&D, and I was a little upset when that character died instead of being allowed to just, go off into the sunset and, not be in the campaign anymore. But that was when I was a brand new, fresh D&D player off the streets. I had just been scooped out of the garbage bin and handed to a group of seasoned players, and I didn't know that that was just the way the game worked. And when I say I felt upset about it for like maybe 10 minutes, maybe even an hour. And I certainly didn't sever a 10-year friendship over it, nor would I have. All of this to say, don't fudge rolls. Just don't. I really hate, by the way, the term fudging rolls. It feels like you're trying to use a wholesome curse word. It feels gross coming out of my mouth. I am only saying it because this Reddit post is forcing me to say it, but that's an entire other video to rant about that. But yeah, you basically have betrayed the party's trust when you start fudging rolls anyway. And, finding that out in the moment of a character dying, I mean, I can see why somebody would be pissed off. Again, not pissed off enough to sever a 10-year friendship over it. But that sounds like y'all had other problems, not just that, you know what I'm saying? Not really much else to say about it. I just thought it was interesting and kind of funny. So let me know what you think about that in the comments, and I'll see you whenever I post again. I came across this post on Crit Crab's Reddit. Fuck.